Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for Capricorn. I'm Julia Mijas.
And I'm Jamie Kell Miller. Well, Capricorn, we're going to look at finances and relationship as a mashed together theme today because they've got so many overlapping things going on in both arenas. In the beginning of the month, Juno is has gone direct and is now moving fast, has well recovered from her yearly retrograde period that she had back in January to April. Moving along fast, she can speed your relationships onward and help to untangle things. So that feels pretty good. And then along comes Mars, forming a beautiful trine to this Juno during July 1st to 4th. So in that first week of July, you'll find that you have access to um, an ability to be assertive and direct and honest and forthright and just cut through the mustard in your relationships. So that should be pretty sweet. Then on July 5th, we have a new moon in Cancer, which lands in your seventh house of relationships. And really, there's a lot of activity in your house of relationships in the beginning of the month, which gradually migrates into your eighth house as the month goes on. And that is more of a house of finance. So that's some of why these themes are very blended for you this month. So this new moon in Cancer that's happening in your seventh house is going to bring a lot of your attention to relationships. And it also is potentially a point of beginnings for relationships. So if you are being socially active and getting yourself out there, it could be an opportunity to meet somebody new if you're in a dating mode. But I want to let you know that also that same day, we have something called Financial Crisis Day. Now, that sounds pretty crisisy. It's not really that bad. And what it is that Ceres has gone retrograde. And Ceres is the asteroid goddess to do with things that connect us to the physical world, our bodies, the food we put into them, and the money we make to sustain them. And so when Ceres is retrograde, those things have a tendency to get kind of tangled up and they come up for retrospection and introspection. So while this is going on, there will always be a day in the middle of the retrograde period where Ceres and the sun come into opposition. And we call this Financial Crisis Day because the sun is shining the full light of consciousness on Ceres right in the middle of her financial mess. So if you have found that during this Ceres retrograde, which is happening in your first house, Capricorn, and so you might feel like more than your money is in it. Your whole reputation and your behavior and your ways of being and your very identity might feel wrapped up with this stuff that's coming up for you financially. And the likelihood on July 5th of a partner of yours pointing at you, shining a spotlight on you, and bringing awareness to maybe some not so clever behaviors that you've had around money, likelihood of that is pretty good. You might want to stay home. um, so then a little bit later in the month, we have Venus, which is traveling through your seventh house during the first third of the month until July 10th. Venus is traveling along your seventh house, and that again is a really great time if you're in dating mode, and a really great time for your social life in general and for your relationships in general, too. You can just be so very sweet and relatable and find that your partners are responding in kind. So that can be super sweet. On July 11th, Venus moves on into your eighth house, which is a little bit more fraught for Venus because the eighth house is an arena of sharing and intimacy. It covers sexuality as well as finances and financial sharing. And when Venus enters this house, sometimes she finds that her boundaries can be compromised. Venus really likes to be a negotiator and to negotiate for what's fair. But in the realm of intimacy, she gets a little, I don't know, shall we call it porous or a little bit too open? So if you meet somebody attractive while Venus is in your seventh, don't jump into bed with them just because Venus is in your eighth, unless you've decided with your rational mind that that's the right thing to do. So don't rush into intimacy while Venus is traveling your eighth. The sun is moving along your seventh house until July 21st. bringing, the wonderful light of warm attention to that house, which means that it's a really great time to shine in your relationships, to shine as a partner and with a partner. So again, going out and being social, if you're in a dating mode, is a really good idea. The sun is going to move on into the eighth house then on July 22nd, but right before that, the sun is going to participate in a full moon in Capricorn. And that means that the sun will be opposite the moon, and the moon will be in your first house. And it's probably going to bring up strong emotions for you. And you may get into conflict with a partner where you're having a lot of strong feelings, which maybe you're trying to clamp down on or trying to hide or trying to have only in appropriate ways. And so there could be some conflicts there in relationships. Watch out for that. The sun moves on into the eighth house, July 22nd, and will be there for about 30 days. And that's a really good time to start paying more attention to your finances and whether things are fair in how you're sharing your monies with a business partner or a spouse, and to just really look into them and make sure that things are going the way that you want them to. One last thing I want to add, which is that Uranus, which is the ruler of your second house, the house of money, um, is traveling through your fifth house in a long-term way over about 7 years, in which it's about in year 5 or 6. And Uranus is going to be coming into a trine with that Juno that I mentioned on July 30th. And that's going to be really good for relationships and also finance. So July 30th is a pretty good day to negotiate agreements, especially with a partner, but even in a new situation. Julia, what's up with career for the Caps out there?
Yes, well, Capricorn, I know career is very near and dear to you. Your ruling planet, Saturn, also a work planet, went retrograde very late last month in the third house. This is a house of communication. This is a house of writing. This is a house of learning. If any of those things have to do with your career, if you're involved in any of those pursuits, this is also a house of media, for example, you might start feeling a little tested around now. You might feel a little stuck. You might feel like you're not moving forward. The good news is that Jupiter has entered your sixth house for the rest of the year, and this is a work house. Jupiter brings expansion and growth, opportunities as well. And in the sixth, this could mean a number of different things. You could get better work conditions. You could get a raise. You could get maybe even working with foreigners or people who expand you, or feeling like your own work is broadening your own horizons as well. You might be a happy worker bee this year, which is really, really nice. Now, the ruler of your 10th house is Venus. She starts the month in your 7th. So for the first 11 days when she's in your 7th house, it's a great time to form partnerships in career, work one-on-one with people in career. Then she enters your 8th house for the rest of the month. And when she's in the 8th house, this is a house of shared finances. So there could be some benefits that you're getting, especially if you have investments through career, like a 401k, or stocks might be doing a little bit better with Venus in the 8th house. Or this is a good opportunity if you do work with a business partner to pool your resources more together so that you mutually benefit. Now, Mars will be entering your 6th house by the end of the month. Mars brings a lot of drive, but it can also bring some frustrations and flare-ups as well.
Find our site at pandoraastrology.com to get a reading with one of us, and find us on Patreon for workshops and classes. And we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.